recording. First of all, uploading the recordings. I have passed them on to ICT, but I think they may be a bit busy. I'll follow up with them that they upload. So I hope everyone's week has started okay. This side, this Wednesday morning, we've started with rain. Of course, we thank God for that. We ended last week. Last week was, we had a discussion. I'm sorry, I literally had to force you, but I think it's important that we understand that we need to participate, all of us, actively in this course unit. On the note which I ended last week, one of the things I stated, and which I hope you understood, is that my wish is that each and every single person leaves this course unit with new knowledge on what research is, with new skills. I'm not saying that you will learn all the skills at once. That is not possible, but it's a start. We want to start with you picking up some good research skills. That said, I hope all of you have accessed that article. And another interesting thing I wanted to share with you, all of you, there was one student who called me after the lecture. And the discussion I had with him, I think, is something important to share. He asked me, what is the role of this module for you as IT professionals? And this is something I also went back and shared with the faculty and the department, the IT department. You develop solutions. Let's say you develop solutions. There may be network solutions, there may be systems, applications, and so on and so forth. That is what the main skill that you come up with. But what does research do? Research is teaching you critical skills, critical thinking skills. Where we come from this idea. Sorry, let me put on the headsets. I'm going to test because the rain is getting heavier. Give me a minute. Sorry, I think when I put on the speakers, you don't hear. So let me just try to listen as closely as possible when you speak. So I just want us to go back to those lecture slides. About why we conduct research and relate it to the discussion we had last week. The critical point, I had a discussion where I discussed with one of you was the issue of critical skills, critical thinking skills, communication, and independent thinking. As IT professionals, we always come with assumptions about what our skills are meant to do. In reality, we are here to solve organizational problems, social problems, and so on and so forth. But the million-dollar question is that always the case? Let me give you an example. I did my research. Sorry, can you hear me? Sorry, can you all hear me?
Yes, madam.
Okay, I think from my side, because the noise, I'm a bit concerned. So let me just go back. So we come with this assumption that our solutions are here to solve the problems of society, of an organization, and so on and so forth. For our next article, for our next assignment, I'm going to give all of you different articles. You're going to divide yourselves into groups. And one of the articles I'm going to give you is an article that is looking at using these platforms that are, let's say, communication platforms. So an example of a communication platform is WhatsApp. Most of you use them for social interaction. But you can already see we are also using it now in teaching and learning. We are in a WhatsApp group as a class for research methods IT. We are so the purpose of that platform is to enable us to communicate. So in one of these articles that I'm going to give you, these researchers, they pose the question, they say, these platforms are meant to also improve communication with management, improve their business processes. And they went ahead and implemented it in an organization. And the results of the research was that it actually failed. It didn't improve. So let us now also think back to you. What do you do, especially when you're doing your dissertation? Someone will say, there is this particular school, it's trying to improve its numbers. I'm going to design for it a website to improve marketing. And you go ahead and do it, and then check, is it true? Your answer may be yes or no. Either one of them for research, it's correct. Yeah, a negative answer in research is correct. That is where the critical skills come in. You involve yourself in critical thinking and critical and independent thinking. So the assumptions that you came with, assuming that ICT can solve ABCD, and you find they actually don't, is what you report. For myself, let me give you my experience. Although it was at PhD level, but it's still, you can also bring it to the level of bachelor's. For me, I was going to research in the field of healthcare in rural areas, and specifically using mobile phones in healthcare. And the assumption I went with as a researcher, I went with in the field was that these mobile phones would improve healthcare access. But in the process, I found so many things that didn't support the success. So, and those are the things I reported about, things that support and things that don't support. So it wasn't about, oh, I've developed this system and it works very well, and therefore it's going to bring X, Y, and Z. No, research is about you building it, placing it in the context, and then you determine whether it actually works or not. So far, are we together, or have I lost anyone? Please, if you don't understand, speak up, let me know. If you're a bit shy, send something in the chat room and I will respond. If possible, even tell me, don't mention my name. I won't mention your name. I'll simply say, somebody has sent this question.
Madam.
Yes, Primrose.
Madam, you've not been clear to me enough. So maybe because it is raining, I wasn't hearing properly.
Okay. Okay, Primrose. The discussion I'm giving, let me see, I hope my speakers are at their maximum. The discussion I'm bringing forward is a continuation from last week about what research is, especially in the IT field. As IT professionals, Because you and I, me and you, all of each one of us here in this virtual classroom, we're IT professionals. It doesn't matter whether you have the degree or not, but you've already picked up IT skills and therefore you're an IT professional. And some of you may know there are many IT professionals that don't have degrees at all. So for me, I consider you and me as IT professionals. So the question is, where does research lie for us as IT professionals? Now, so far, for all of you, you've received training in programming or in networking, not so?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, you've received that training. You know how to develop some kind of system, whether in Java, or whether it is in PHP, web-based programming, whatever it is, and you may be using other languages now that I have and that I don't even know, since I've not been in programming for some time. You may know how to set up a network by now. You may know how to troubleshoot, and so on and so forth. So all those skills are meant to give you IT skills to develop IT solutions for real world contexts. So for example, if you went to an organization and they asked you to set up for them a network where they can all access, let's say, an internet gateway, or you set up a system where they can, the organization can deposit its information and process it and make reports out of it. You can do all of that. Yes, not so. Not so for everyone. You can all develop these different solutions. Primrose, are you hearing me?
Yes, madam, I'm hearing you.
Yeah. So those are the skills so far that you know and you can do. So the question from one of your colleagues who called me last week, immediately after our lecture, the question was, where does research come in? Now for you as IT professionals, where does research come in? Research is about seeking questions, responding to assumptions. So here, let me give you an example. Some of the big assumptions we have in IT. It's one of them, is not the only one. Here are some of the big assumptions we may have. We say that IT solutions will come in to solve ABCD. So let me give you an example. For me as Sheba, my interests are in ICT for development. When we bring IT solutions in the developing context. So for example, we might say doctors are not able to see their patients in rural areas. So why not use mobile phones to gain access? Maybe we can also do remote diagnosis for patients, where a doctor calls a patient and asks them symptoms and they tell you things like that. So this is something that has been put forward in the field of ICT for development. But for me, when I went in to do my research, I came from the background that a lot of people say, a lot of designers say, when you bring in IT, it will solve the development problems. But most of the time, these solutions fail. So my objective was to go and question some of those assumptions. So I decided to develop a solution, put it in a rural context for healthcare, and I began to examine. I wasn't looking at, oh, the solution is working very well. The solution was working, yes, but could it bring about the goal that was expected? That was improve healthcare access. And in that process, I began to see answers to certain things. I saw things like rural users could not, they couldn't use the SMS platform. Many were illiterate. And so there were so many other things, so many issues. So those are the things I reported back from my research. That was the main issue of my research. It wasn't about the application that was developed. It was about the results. When you put it in the context, what happened? What were the things that are going to lead to its failure? Things like that. So in other words, Primrose and everyone else, what I'm saying is that when you've now started developing solutions, now for research, start questioning certain things. Yeah, start questioning. Somebody, like for example, you saw the article we read last week. For them, they were coming out to say that yes, we have these applications on phones which are very nice, but they wanted to further prove that these things can be very destructive. They can lead you to, they can cause you to, if you're doing several things at the same time, you're working and at the same time using WhatsApp or checking on social media or listening to music, it will affect your ability to concentrate. So therefore, don't multitask. Yeah. So that was something they were bringing forward. I'll give you another article this week at the end of this lecture, but I'll give you at the end of the day because I have to do the same for the evening class. Where these researchers decided to get a communication, a group hardware solution. A groupware solution is an example I can give you is WhatsApp. WhatsApp can allow people to come together as a group and have discussions. So the question for this particular research group, they were saying they decided to implement the groupware software for a management team and to see if it would improve communication and decision making. And at the end of the paper, at the end of the research, they found that it actually didn't. Yeah, it did not improve communication. So the issue was that the groupware solution was not the problem. What they found were issues in the organization that couldn't allow this groupware system to effectively improve communication. So that's what your research is now about as IT professionals. Do you understand what I'm saying so far? Primrose, you who had asked, did you hear? Faith also, you had
Madam, I'm
something?
understanding.
Okay. Faith, you had something to say?
Now I was saying it's okay. I'm getting you.
Okay, okay, thank you all. So on this next slide, it is simply emphasizing some of the things we've been talking about. We may want to improve people's well-being, social networking, and a living. So you come in saying, I'm going to develop a system for the sake of improving this business process, making it work easier. But then you ask the question, does it actually improve? It may actually improve and you report, it may not. So this is where the testing of hypothesis comes from. Can somebody just go ahead and Google the word hypothesis? Because we're going to see this word a number of times. You may not use it, but some of you may use it, some may not. Can somebody just quickly Google the word hypothesis? What does it mean? Can someone just quickly Google? What does the word hypothesis mean? Maybe Emmanuel Chigundu can tell us. Gatut, I'll come to you later. Can Emmanuel Chigundu tell us? What does the word hypothesis mean?
Madam?
Yes, please.
It is in research, Hypothesis is a statement of expectation or prediction that will be tested by research.
A statement of expectation. Yeah, something you may expect. Yeah, so here in the slides, you see something like, here is an assumption that is made. Girls hate mathematics. Yeah, so someone may say, let me go and find out this hypothesis. Now, it's not a must that all of you will have a hypothesis. In the next subsequent lectures, we shall talk about the nature of research, and you realize that it's not, you may not have a hypothesis at all. Depends on the type of research you're doing, but something like that is something we can try to prove or disprove. I'm seeing in the chat room, it could mean an explanation made on evidence, stream of consciousness, guessing, yes. So essentially, when you're starting your research, hypothesis would mean you're going out to get, you're guessing this is the truth. This will lead to this. A will lead to B. X will lead to Y. And then at the end, you prove or disprove. Now, if you look at, I will also ask that question when I give you the different articles. Once we've done once we've looked at the nature of research, I will ask you some of those basics. But that's for another time. So we have looked at some of the characteristics already. Number one, if we look at characteristics, we already know that research is a systematic process. It is a process. It is something you go step by step to arrive at an answer. Yeah. So we can't simply jump to a conclusion before we carry out the research. For example, you might say, I'm going to design a website for this school to improve to improve its market position. And then you start reporting that this has greatly improved, yet you haven't actually tested. You must, if you say it's going to greatly improve, at the end of, by the time you finish your field research, you must have determined whether it actually does improve or it doesn't. Research offers something new to the previous research. There's something new that the research produces that is not there. And that means it's not for you, it's for a research community. This one, we've discussed it in detail. Yeah? We've discussed this in detail. So we know that research brings forward new knowledge. Then research also addresses directly or indirectly real-world problems. You saw the example of the article we read. You read. I hope you had time to go further and read on it. It was bringing forward further evidence to anyone who uses smartphones, and also probably to stakeholders like police who handle traffic and so on and so forth. You know, if police finds you talking on the phone when you're driving, that is an offense. You can easily be fined or something can be done to you. Why? That particular article shows evidence that if you're multitasking while you are while you're using these applications that bring about feelings of happiness, you'll be distracted from a particular task. So that article was actually solving a real world problem. It was bringing forward evidence. And therefore, people like let's say lawmakers in parliament can say, if anyone is found texting while they're driving, they should be sent to jail for maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks, something like that. And they would be valid because they would show research actually proves you're not able to do two things at the same time. So in other words, that research brings forward new knowledge for sure, and it also supports certain stakeholders like lawmakers. Yeah. So the real world problems here, you see examples of poverty, corruption, and so on and so forth. So I'll give you the example of the research I gave. For me, it was motivated by the issue of poverty, that we as ICT4D designers, if you're designing any ICT for a developing context, case study, your objective is to improve improve livelihoods. But if it's not doing that, then you must find out what are those issues underneath that actually prevent this solution from working, that how can we take care of them? Then your research must also take into context ethical or moral issues. Yeah, we shall discuss this in detail. If you're taking, like, for example, when you're doing research, you have to think about confidentiality, especially if you're doing research that may be controversial. Yeah, let me give you an example of people who do research in healthcare. Maybe for you, as ICT people, you may not, that may not be an issue, but for people especially who are dealing with human subjects and maybe sensitive issues, maybe for example like HIV/AIDS, mental health, things that may be controversial, like let's say prostitution and so on and so forth, or issues of rape, and those are very controversial. So if someone is doing that research, some of the things they may have to do is they normally have to report their work to a research board and ask for permission. They need to ask permission from their respondents and ensure that no personal details are released. For example, if you're researching maybe on mental health and you've come to interview Sheba who has a mental health problem, you don't say, oh, you see, Madam Sheba Nyakaisiki has this type of mental health. No, mental health is an issue of stigma, so you don't mention it. Now, even on top of that, even you, for the sake of courtesy, you may not be handling very sensitive issues. Maybe you're developing a system, but you may say, you may inform the respondent. First of all, you may ask the respondent to give you permission that you can collect data from them. It may not be sensitive, but you still have to seek consent. And normally, if you ever look at a sample of a questionnaire, there are normally issues like, we shall keep this information confident. It will not be divulged, and I will not pick any personal data from you. Maybe just your feelings about something. So those words normally at the top of a questionnaire are some of the ethical issues that you're taking into consideration. Any questions so far? So far, any question? No?
No.
Okay, let's move on then. Research will also clearly state the variables that are under question. Yeah. So here we have an example on the slide which is talking about students' performance. So you're looking at students' performance is a variable. Yeah. You're looking at, you want to measure students' performance. Now let us say you've designed a system and you've placed it in a context, and your objective was to say, I'm going to improve business processes. Give me a minute, please. I'm in class. Sorry about that. I hope you can all still hear me. Sorry about that. Someone called me on the phone, and that's where I'm picking network from. So I was giving an example of let's say one of you decides, I want to develop a system, develop a website for a particular school to improve the student number admissions. That when you put up the website, it will market them better, and therefore more people will come in. So if you want to improve the market position, or you want to say, I want to improve market position or improve student numbers by marketing more on the website, then once you put it up, then your measure would be has it actually improved the student numbers? That would be your variable that you'd be answering. If it is to improve maybe efficiency within a certain department, you're developing, let's say, a finance system, and you want to improve the speed of reports and so on and so forth, you'll put it there and then you examine, has this improved the speed of reporting? And that would be your variable that you're measuring. In other words, a good research, you should have a variable that you're measuring. And at the end of the day, that variable that you're measuring is what you report back to. So far, do you understand what I'm saying? So far, do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, I hope so. There is a question you'd be answering at the end of it all. Another important thing is that your position must never be biased. Especially for us IT people, we are usually biased about our systems. We want to say that they actually are good, and because you see them working. You see, when you're working on something in the lab, it's working, you see that it's working. But when you give it to the user, the person who is actually meant to use it, this is where the proof of whether what you've produced actually has any merit. You imagine a dress designer. Yes, nowadays in Uganda, I'm seeing a lot of dress designers, designers and so on and so forth. And usually these people are very proud of their creations, as they should be. But you see, if the proof is in the person who is buying. The person who is buying the dress, if that person doesn't like that dress or suit or anything, then it doesn't mean anything at all. It's the same thing goes for IT solutions. If an IT solution is not useful to the user, then you as the researcher now, then you remove the heart of your heart. You know, at different times in our lives, we wear different hats. At a certain point, when you go home, you are a child. You're somebody's child, your father's child, your mother's child. At a certain point, you're somebody's nephew or daughter. At another point, you're somebody's sister. So when it comes to academics, in academic, you wear two hats as IT students. All of us, me as an IT professional. When we are developing a system, there we are IT professionals. However, when we are researching, we become researchers. And when we are researchers, we are as objective as possible. Yeah. The results of our research are the ones we must follow. If the context says this system doesn't work, this website has not improved our numbers of marketing, our student numbers and student number enrollment, then we can therefore say the website most likely did not support. Maybe the question is, why did it not support? Maybe the kind of this particular school, the kind of students that come in, their parents don't access websites. Yeah, that could be the answer you have. And in research, it's a very correct answer. You'll even get a distinction in your dissertation by giving a very unbiased position. Yeah, that the assumption before was that the parents could access, but in reality, they don't access. So therefore, another solution may be sending out SMSs. Bulk SMSs would be better for this school than a website. Yeah. So far, do we understand what I'm trying to bring forward?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Let me move to what research is not. Things that really you must look out for on what is considered as bad research. The first is plagiarism. Does anyone know what plagiarism is, or plagiarizing? Can somebody quickly do a Google search?
Madam,
Yes, please.
plagiarism is academic theft.
Academic theft. That is when you, let us say you're writing your thesis, you go find an article, you simply copy and paste. Or you get somebody else's work, you copy and paste and you don't, yeah, okay. Let me even be more specific. As you're doing your research, you read other people's articles. So as you read them, you reference. You say, so and so says this. That is okay. But if you get their words and put them there and pass them on as your own, that is plagiarism. Someone is saying, copy exactly what someone else wrote. Exactly. You can copy and you can even, it's actually okay to get to extract something from somebody's research and put it in quotes directly and reference. That is okay. Once you reference that, that means you write the original author. That is okay. But as long as you just write it and not reference, that is plagiarism. Yeah. Falsifying data. Do we all know what falsifying data means?
No,
No?
no.
Does anyone else have any idea? Okay, let me give an example of falsifying data. You design, let's say I gave you the previous example of somebody who develops a website with the intention of improving enrollment because of marketing. And the person is supposed to go to the field and find out, did this thing actually improve enrollment? And this person says, I don't have time to go and ask people. Let me just get my questionnaires and tick them for myself and answer without going to a respondent. That is falsifying data. Yeah?
Come again, madam. Falsifying data.
What falsifying data is. Okay. You will use different tools to go and collect data. You'll either interview or do questionnaires, not so? Or use both?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, let us say one of you says, me, I don't want to go there. I don't have the time. It's too much time to go to the case study and collect this data. Let me just sit down and pretend I'm the respondent and I fill in the questionnaire myself. Do you understand?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, instead of going to the field and asking respondents, people who are actually using the system, you decide to sit down and forge and pretend you're the respondent. You tick yes, no, what, you even give your own responses and then come in and put it in your report. That is falsifying data.
Madam, I have a question.
Please. Yes, please.
So now, how will the person, whoever is going to mark you, know that you falsified the data?
Now, one of the most important things we notice with falsifying data, for anyone who is a seasoned researcher, is when things are very positive, when everyone is saying, oh, everything is fine. That is not possible. Okay? That is one. Two, most of the time in proper research, when you have, let's say, like, for example, for me, I did 2 years of, I spent 2 years with a community in India. That is near Nkozi there. 2 years. In that time, I recorded people talking. Then I had questionnaires, which I gave respondents and they filled out themselves. When I was taking back my book, I took all my questionnaires and all my recordings back to the university to prove I actually collected this data. The raw data itself, I took it back. So depending on how your, some supervisors are strict, others are not. But some supervisors, when they are really strict, I remember I had from one of the lecturers who got a master's student and he realized she was cheating and he told her off immediately and he refused to supervise her. That was one of the strict lecturers. Others may be, I just want to finish and sign off. But if your supervisor is one of integrity, he or she may ask for these originals. Sorry, someone was trying to say something. Was that me? Here somebody is saying, John is saying data falsification, manipulating research data with the intention of giving a false impression. I'll actually even give you an example of a professor. He was a whole professor in the Netherlands who was stripped of, they didn't strip him of his PhD, but they stripped him of his professorship, should I say, because he continued to do research and then he started falsifying data. And one of the things they realized, one of the ways they realized was that his data was too neat, too neat. So, you know, especially when you're doing, we shall talk about the different types of research, what they call quantitative data and qualitative data. We shall talk about that. When you see them in detail, you can see where things are a bit false. Misinterpreting information and misleading participants. Misinterpreting information, especially when you're dealing with the participants are the people who are taking part in your research. So this may be people in the context, people who you are interviewing and so on and so forth. If you mislead them about what exactly you're trying to do. Remember, those are some of the ethical issues you may be dealing with. You may decide, maybe you say, let me go and lie these people, I'm going to build for them a very nice system, a very nice website, yet you know it's for research purposes. It may never even be hosted at any point in time. Be clear with your participants about what you're doing. Providing inadequate references. This one is very, very important, the referencing. We know what references are.
Yes, madam.
You know, okay, that is good. Does everyone know? One person has answered. Does everyone know?
Yes, madam.
You all know what references are.
Yes.
Okay, I truly hope so. Now, when you, for those who may be shy, when you are quoting somebody's work, or rather you as you're doing your research, you read a lot of academic literature. And as you're reading the relevant ones that you're going to include in your research, say, so and so maybe said this, you reference. Those references are extreme. So you need to have adequate references. And two, you need to have up-to-date references. Someone asked, how do I know a reference is inadequate? Number one, your research needs to be up to date. That is one. We are now in 2022. If you're quoting research done in 1982 for something that is very recent, then your research is severely inadequate. So let us say, for example, you are reporting, your research is on, it's artificial intelligence, and you are quoting something from 1992. In 2020, how much research has been done on artificial intelligence? Between 1992 and now, you need to have up-to-date referencing. Two, there are times you may want to write your own feelings about something. Let us say, for example, I was reading somebody's work, a master's student, and he was talking about his research it's ICT, but his research is in agriculture, and he was trying to say that the agriculture extension workers do not reach farmers. And he just stated it without referencing anyone. I said, this, are you talking about? And I said, this must be referenced, come what may. You can't start saying that the extension workers don't reach farmers. Are you a farmer? Are you speaking from your personal experience? Maybe there are a certain group of farmers who do receive extension workers. How do you know? So something like that, that is where someone can say you have inadequate referencing, because that particular student was mentioning something that is very active in Uganda, agriculture. Haven't people written about the availability of extension workers to farmers? Or we simply sit down and assume they don't even appear to farmers. You can't make assumptions. That's where somebody can say your referencing is inadequate. Have I answered your question, Emmanuel? Emmanuel, have I answered your question? Emmanuel Chigundu, have I answered your question? Hello? Okay, I'm going to assume silence is consent. So these are some of the problems you may experience. The first one points to the inadequate referencing, lack of sufficient and appropriate literature. And sincerely speaking, being in Uganda, Africa, this is a place where we most likely, we don't have enough, we don't have access to appropriate literature. Reason being, our universities may fail to give us access to the up-to-date online journals. However, to solve this problem, one of the things I must ask you is, get very, very close to the librarians. The librarians are able, they have their network. They should be able to get for you some of this literature. Yeah? So get very close to the librarians. They should be able to gain access for you. Become a very close friend of Google Scholar. Do you all know what Google Scholar is? Do you know what Google Scholar is? Odong?
No.
You don't know Google Scholar. Okay, let me, while still sharing my screen. Okay, if I just type in Scholar, there is Google Scholar. Can you all see Google Scholar? Can you all see it on my screen?
No, madam.
You can't see?
No. It is
You
not
don't see my
displaying.
Oh, so pardon. Let me first stop sharing. Let me stop sharing and share this one. Can you now see it?
Yes, madam.
Okay. How did I get here? Even if you just go to Google and type in Google Scholar, this word, Google Scholar, it takes you directly there. Let me just go back. I just Googled it and it's the first thing that it gives you, Google Scholar. Now, once you search for anything academic, give me an example of a research area you may want to tackle. Any research area you may want to tackle.
Banking.
Banking. Banking and what? It can't be just banking because it's a very big area. What exactly do you want to search for in banking? What do you want to know?
Why some people why some people don't bank?
Why people don't bank? Okay, let me first try that. Okay, someone else, let me first see, I've seen another topic here in the chat room. Then maybe if you can be refining that topic. Someone says artificial intelligence in health facilities. Let's see. Let me see if I can do that. Artificial intelligence in healthcare. Yeah. Now, artificial intelligence in healthcare. Do you see all these are articles? And some of them, once you see it has this PDF on the side, it means you can download it. Okay. Have you seen that? So I can easily click on this. It downloads for me the article. And I can even download it and put it, save it on my computer and read it at leisure. Yeah, let me say I save it. So this one is an article on artificial intelligence in healthcare, and you can go ahead and read it. Now let us assume you've read it. Yeah, do you all hear me? Let us assume you've read it and you want to use it. And then now you want to use to be part of your bibliography. Do you know what bibliography is? Do you know what bibliography or as part of your references you want to put it as
yes, Madam.
You know.
Yes.
Now let us say now you want to cite it. The nice thing about Google Scholar is you can come here and click on cite. And it even gives you the different types, different ways of citing. Yeah. We use Harvard, I think. You can simply come here, copy, and paste. Maybe you have a Word document here. Yeah, I was writing a document. Let me just open up a new. So I can come here and paste. Are you all seeing what I'm doing? You've seen how I've done that? I simply clicked on cite and I got, we know we use Harvard style of referencing. I copy and paste. Have you seen that?
Madam, we never saw that well. You can repeat it again.
Okay. Do you all see it?
Please,
Let me first stop sharing the screen and then I see how I can share my entire screen. Can you see the Google Scholar page where we search for artificial intelligence. Can you see it? What do you see on my screen right now? Can you see my screen?
Madam, I see something like you searched for something.
I've searched for artificial intelligence
Yes.
in healthcare. Yeah. And these are the articles that it gives me access. It shows me what has been written so far on artificial intelligence. Now, when you see this would be my right-hand side, you see where the mouse is moving, where you see those links. It means I should be able to have access to those articles. Okay? So let us say you open this article, you click on that link. Have you seen it opens up the article itself? Can you see the article itself? Then it says artificial intelligence in healthcare. The writers are Kuhn, I think this is an Asian name, Andrew L. Beam and Isaac Cohen. Can you see that? Can you see that article?
Yes, madam.
Yes. Now this is the article. Let us say you see it, you read through and you find it's relevant for your research. It's relevant, it has something it is saying, something you can use. You can download it and save it on your computer directly. Yeah, so for me here, I've said, yes, I've already downloaded it earlier. I save it. Now, once I have saved it, let me go back. Now I want to, there is citing within the text, then there is the bibliography that comes at the end. You know that, do you know the difference between the two? Citing within the text and also referencing it in your bibliography. Do you know the difference between those two?
No, madam, I don't know.
Okay. Let me just, I'm just going to share with you my research. Do you see this, this PDF I've just opened up? It says chapter 1, the case of a context-aware model. Do you see it?
Yes, madam.
You see it, eh?
Yes, please.
Now, you see, I've written, this was my book, my PhD book. You see, I wrote this statement, and at the end, I cited this person, Madon et al. 2009. Do you see that?
Please.
Now, that is citing within a text, within the text itself. Yeah? Here is another example. That is citing within the text. Then at the end of my research, I have what you call your bibliography or references. All the people I cited within my text, I have written here. Those are my references. Let me also open up for you this particular article that we have opened up. I think it's here. No, sorry. This article that we've just opened up now. Do you see it? The article which I've just downloaded? Do you see it? On
Yes,
artificial
we're seeing it.
Now, I'll show you. For him, these people use a different style of referencing. They use numbers. You see those numbers, eh? For them, they use a different style. They use numbers. That's a different style of, I think it's Oxford. But at the end, this person has all the people he referenced, all the people they referenced. Yeah. So within your text, let's say you've downloaded this article, you begin to write. Let me just show you an example. Let me first remove this. Maybe you say, are you seeing what document I've downloaded? Are you seeing it? I'm just going to get these people's names. So here I'm going to say, I'm going to use this person's name here. This was an article of 2018. I'll say, this guy et al. 2018. Define AI as blah, 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 blah. Let us say whatever they have said. This is citing within text. Okay, let me see. Let me see what they say on artificial intelligence. Let me just say, state that AI is gradual, is changing the digital landscape in healthcare. Yeah. By the time I make that statement, this is me writing within the text, and I can cite even more people. I can state more things. Then at the end of my book, I'll have I'll have a paper on references, all the references I've had. Now, for me to get a copy of all my references, once I've got them from Google Scholar, one of the nice things that Google Scholar does is it can allow you to extract the reference in its appropriate format and include it in your text. So you have now come back to the Google Scholar page where this particular article is, and I want to reference it. Can you all see the Google Scholar page? Can you see it? Can you all see?
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Okay. So we come back to citing. Click here. You see why it says cite? You click on cite. Do you see that window that pops up? Do you see the window that pops up, which is entitled Cite?
Yes.
Yes.
So we in UMU use Harvard style. So you simply click on that format, you select that bibliography, I right click, I copy, and then I can come here and put it under my references. Have you all seen that?
Yes.
Yeah. So far we are together on this.
Madam, come again, how you did it?
Okay, let me go back. Let me close this window. You see, the particular article I want to cite, you see it, artificial intelligence in healthcare, the one that I downloaded. You see that so far?
Yes.
Now I want to cite it. I want to get the proper citation method. I click on the link cite. Then it opens up this window. Do you see the window, which is entitled cite?
Yes.
You see it? Now it gives you different citing formats. UMU uses Harvard. This one, the Harvard style. Do you see it?
Yes.
I highlight that reference, I right click, copy. I come to where I'm writing my dissertation and I simply paste. Have you seen that process so far?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So that is one of the nice things Google Scholar can do for you. One, Google Scholar will give you academic documents on anything you search on. Previously, somebody had asked for banking. I don't remember who it was. Can we try and refine your research topic? I don't remember who it was. Can you come back and try to refine it, and we see how you can do that for Google Scholar? You see, I think it was Emmanuel who gave me who was it that gave us artificial intelligence? It was Emmanuel. You see that it was artificial intelligence in healthcare. So can you also try to refine your topic so that you can also search and see? No? Okay, let's move on. Let's hope maybe you'll come up, we shall try to come up with something there. So let's come back to our slides. So we've talked about the issue of inappropriate literature. So one, please get close to the librarians. Two, searching for appropriate literature. So I've given you one sample, Google Scholar. Also, UMU has e-resources. I am sure that the librarians have taken you through it, but you can also take advantage of that platform. It's also very good. Inadequate data. Yeah. The inadequate data is in a situation when you're going out to do research and you don't have enough respondents, or maybe you've picked a topic that doesn't give you enough data. That means enough people to give to really build your case for whether something is true or false, whether you can adequately come to a conclusion. But we shall talk about that later when we talk about trying to on research design. Inadequate funding, you may not be able to go to the field properly. Maybe your parent has not given you enough pocket money to allow you to move freely to go to your case study. Lack of trust from data providers, that is your case study, especially if you have not been open with them. Or there maybe you may go to a case study where things are not very okay. I'll give you an example. I do some consultancy work with Palliative Care Association of Uganda. So palliative care in particular in Uganda, this is when it is basically sometimes it's referred to as end of life care. So basically in healthcare, there are different types of healthcare. There is healthcare which is for prevention. There's healthcare which is for curative, that is somebody sick, you have malaria and you go there to be cured. Then there is healthcare which is just to ease your suffering. So let us say people who are on cancer treatment, and the objective is not necessarily to cure them, but to take care of their pain. So what Palliative Care Association does is to ensure that every hospital has a palliative care nurse or provider. They have morphine in each hospital and enough sufficient for their patients. So at this time, for me, as an ICT person, they had implemented an mHealth application. That is, they were using mobile phones to report. So they wanted to go and evaluate this particular application. So I was supposed to go to health facilities, but specifically I was sent to Masaka and Kabale. But the time when I went, these were all government hospitals. Now you realize government hospitals, they take you like the army. When a time comes, they will rotate, they will shift you. You're in Masaka, they will send you to Gulu or to Kabale or elsewhere. So at that time, they were doing that reshuffling. And when I went there, these people, the hospital directors, were not happy at all. So at that time, when I was trying to get information from them, you could see clearly they didn't want to answer my questions. So that was a time when the data providers were not happy. So you could see clearly they were, even their responses were harsh. They were quite short. They were quite rough with me. So that can also be your situation. So research also demands a lot of time and effort. And for you also, especially as research, as undergraduates, you also have you have a limited time. You need to do this dissertation within this time and finish it. So when you have all these challenges of funding, you have people who don't want to respond to you, you may have such challenges. Any questions so far? Hello? Do you have any questions so far?
No, madam.
Okay. So at that time when I did this, we're using Padlet, but we can use Moodle to have a discussion on this. I will put this up. I'll open up a discussion forum again on Moodle. I hope all of you will start responding. Let us have a discussion on what do you expect your challenges to be and how do you plan to overcome them? Because you're going to face challenges as you do your research. So let's have that discussion on Moodle. Okay. Shall we call this? It's 10:27 right now. I know you have another lecture, not so?
Yes.
Oh. So let's just have, I'm going to open up a discussion forum on Moodle after I have my evening class, because I want us to move at the same pace. I'll put it up then. And I'll also follow up with the ICT to see about uploading the recorded Zoom classes. Okay,